folks, and welcome back to the Path to Recovery podcast series. We're going to be talking about episode 7, and it's called The Mask. I think when I saw that post from that girl and her struggle.
I'm struggling, I'm done all this, this is what I've come through, and I feel like hell and my life's gone to but look at me, I'm pretty.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we were looking at doing.
Okay.
Maybe we can call it The Mask. That would be a nice title for the episode. Today's talk is going to be about being the mask or hiding behind the mask. We're just going to ad-lib today.
Yeah.
We're going to throw this in. It's a bonus for all our listeners.
That's the hope.
So the concept behind the mask is real simple. It's almost like we take ourselves and put ourselves into the Halloween. I think we talked about this. Didn't we talk about it on the,
we talk about
the
a
Star
lot of
Wars
stuff
and the
all
other
the
one?
time.
Okay. So I'll just run through it now. So the other day I was looking on a social media tool. I'm not going to mention the name of it. I was on the social media and reading something that a younger person posted. It was in a recovery status. So she's recovering. She had gone through a cold turkey recovery. She had been successful for several months and she slipped a little bit and then she got back on it. She started recovering again. She was talking about how she lost her children. The police came in, DCS or whatever you call it, wherever you're from. The Child Protection Services came in, took her kids away from her. The good thing was that they ended up with her mother. The bad thing was that she had to get herself into a situation where her kids had to be taken away. But she explained in a few paragraphs how her life was really twisted, turned, and upside down because of her addiction and her path in her addiction. Unfortunately, at the bottom of it, or in her pictures, the images of her, she was showing an image of herself when she was addicted, and then an image of herself when she's off her addiction. But when you look at the pictures, you're not looking at the person.
So she didn't show her face. Did she show her face as an addict?
She did her face as an addict, but she was focused on her body.
As an addict.
As an addict.
Okay.
Then she showed another face of her as a recovering addict with her face but focusing on her body. Very typical in today's world of men and women. You see somebody that's trying to say, hey, I'm doing great. I'm having a blast. My life is fantastic. Or take a look at my body. I've got these ripped stomach muscles and my butt is awesome and my thighs are awesome. And my
Thanks for looking at my but I'm struggling.
So as I was reading the post, trying not to look at the pictures, I was trying to get a feel of the person behind the post. Unfortunately, it just kind of seemed, I'm not going to assume on this, but from reading the responses, the replies to her post, a majority of them were, wow, you're beautiful. My God, you look sexy. And really? Was that the goal of the person posting? To say, look at me, I'm sexy. I am a basket case. I can't get my together. I don't know what's happening in my life and I don't know how to be healthy and happy and off of my addictions. But man, take a look at my body. I'm sexy and I'm available. I don't know what that is with people.
And maybe we're presumptuous as well. I mean, it's really hard to say when we're in our addiction, when we're out of addiction. What the picture represents is, even while addicted, please still look at me. I'm a mess and look at me. The other picture is, look at me, I'm healing, but yet look at me.
Right.
But it's all external looking. You know, it's still needing to be validated either way you look at it. So wouldn't it be really fantastic to see that these groups wouldn't allow for those kind of pictures, because the focus gets taken away from, especially the addict. I mean, there's not just drug addiction. I mean, we got sex addiction, you know, you've got a range of addictions.
Social media addictions.
So even when people are going through these addictions and they're looking at these profiles and they're saying, aren't I skinny? So then you got somebody else who feels less than, because don't you know they're clean now and they weigh 300 pounds and they don't feel good.
Right. You know, and a lot of the comments that I see on these pages are filled with people that are saying, yeah, I'm 150 pounds heavier than I was when I was an addict. Now the question would be, well, how do you feel about that?
How does that actually
make you feel? Is it okay that you're not in shape, so to speak? Is it okay that you've ballooned? Is it okay that you've done whatever, or you're not vomiting anymore, whatever the addiction was creating? Is it okay? Is that the point you're trying to make? I gained weight, but I'm okay. I eat too much, but I'm okay.
Do we see those posts, though? Because we just had a guest come in and was talking to us, and he was actually talking about how much he doesn't like social media because he knows the people that are on his pages, and he knows their life is a mess. And they're portraying themselves as, look at me and look at my family. Don't we look whole? Don't we look completed? And don't we look like we're having fun? And the truth is if you're not being authentic, no matter what, it's going to be seen and known by somebody. Right? The shyster always gets ousted, if you will.
And if we look back at the last 20 years of television and look at what direction we took, what direction have we gone from entertainment, We used to have sitcoms and dramas and stuff like that. Now we're into this thing called reality TV, which, if you know what reality TV really is behind the scenes, you know it's not real. They edit, they change, they manipulate, and they do stuff.
Correct.
We've also seen a lot of people that are, like these singers, right? These television shows where people get to demonstrate their singing abilities and they get to say, oh, I've got a great voice. I don't have a great voice. For the first portion, probably for the first 10 to 12 years of those shows, most of their viewership came when they were not good, when they were being ridiculed and told that they shouldn't even be up on the stage. Their voice is so terrible. But people were doing it. Why would we as a society want to watch something where people are being ridiculed or their family members are putting them on a stage when their family members may very well know this is all for fun?
Well, funny thing that you say that, what actually came to my mind, and whether it's true or not, it's not like I'm always politically correct, but I can do my best to kind of fish through. I think it came about the time where Vietnam was happening, and it was the first use of actually showing what was happening in the real world.
Seeing the truth.
So we had a social media aspect on the television to see what was happening, and I believe, and my heart goes out to the veterans and those who are even still out there, fighting for our rights. But if you look at what we did, we inundated people with information and visuals on pain, destruction, grief, and we got caught in those moments. And then, of course, media will always put it out there to twist it to their needs and the desirability of ratings. And that was the beginning of where ratings came in, and who was it, NBC or ABC, or the agenda had flipped. Right? So when these guys came home, the media had flipped it to where they were baby killers.
Right.
And I mean, how judgmental of people are we? And maybe it's not that it didn't take place, but the fact is, that's not what they wanted to be doing with their life.
Right.
That wasn't what they really wanted to be doing, and yet we portrayed them in a certain way.
Right.
So in media aspects, whether it's social media or news media, we kind of set the table. We set the table when it comes to what everybody should look like. Everybody should be thin. Everybody should be this. And if
this
you're not
is what
this,
we call beautiful today.
Here's the trends.
Right.
And if you're not fitting in with the trends, you said, is she okay or he okay feeling the weight of being 150 pounds more and being clean? Does that feel good? What does it feel like?
Right. Where's the emotion behind the information?
Right. And when we were so saturated with this stuff, what did United States feel when we first began with this? What did we feel? We judged before we knew the truth, before we knew the individual stories. And isn't that what we do now? So people are scared to put the truth out there because people judge. That's what we do.
Well, the simple solution would be, don't get on social media.
Don't put it out there.
Don't turn on your television. Don't listen to the news. If you struggle with the understanding of what's behind the story, what's behind the person, what's behind the picture, what's behind the video, if you're trying to assume and you put your judgments on it, the only way that it can be cleared and clean is either A, go to the source. Who is this person? Do you know them? If I know them personally, I know what, by being a friend of theirs, I know what's happening behind the scenes. So I know that on their page, it's not really depicting what's really going on. But does that mean we have to even care about that?
Does it mean we need to engage? Does it mean we need to say anything?
Do we need to respond, like, thumbs up, follow?
Should we heart you?
Or any of this stuff?
Maybe we should show you an angry face because we know the truth behind. The fact is as we are destroying ourselves with social media?
Social mayhem.
Social mayhem,
right?
Yeah.
So with that understanding, I mean, we can take a look at how this is going to be playing out moving forward. I mean, here we are doing a podcast hoping people listen to us because we're trying to give something a little bit more than just, hey, listen to us. Listen to us. We're going to laugh. We're going to swear. We're going to do whatever. We're trying to get a little deeper on this. We're trying to bring people into a healthier place.
The idea is understanding that each one of us an addict, the range of being an addict varies. It's not just drug addiction that gets us into these situations, although it's a big source for many, if not most of us.
Addiction to attention. I mean, that's what we're really talking about, that first topic, or these people putting pictures about themselves. Why are they addicted to attention? When you look deeper inside it, it's a good possibility that maybe they didn't get any attention when they were a child. Maybe they were left behind, left into the corner. Here's your television. Figure out your life by yourself. Feed yourself. Set yourself by yourself and figure that out. I've got better and more important things to do than pay attention to my child. I think we can all experience that in our lives, or we can all sense or feel a bit of our lives where that kind of thing has happened. And the more we want to look for attention, probably the more wounded we were. with regards to those feelings of being unloved or unwanted.
I believe that that's the biggest aspect of any of us being addicts is we don't feel like we are worthy, that we can't validate our own self, so we're looking for others to validate us as well, and that's why we get into cliques or gangs, any of that stuff, because we need somebody to validate that we're okay, because we just don't feel it. But isn't it funny, though, is we spend our whole life trying to be validated by others, and we don't feel that people gave us enough attention. I don't feel that my parents gave me enough attention because they were so mixed up in their life. And for me personally, I carried with myself all those years of, man, you should have been a better parent. There was no reason why you should have done that to me. There was no reason why those things should have happened to me, because you were responsible for my life. And, for me, it's God entrusted you to take care of me, to value me. As somebody said, we live with agendas, right? And that's kind of how we do life. Everybody that we come in contact with, we have an agenda if we keep them in our life. How can you suit me? How can you serve me? How can you validate me? How can you love me? What can you provide for the family?
Or how can I do something for you as well?
Well, and yes, but yet still, even though we want to do something for others, the truth is most of us are going into a situation, will this benefit me?
Mm-hmm. What do I get to gain out of this?
What am I going to get out of it, and what am I willing to give up?
But it depends on the level that you're at with it. Am I in a deep need for attention? Am I in a deep need of gaining something? Or do I just want to be...
Or do I want to coexist with people in my life that I'm okay whether they come or go?
Right.
Am I grounded within myself, or am I really just needy? Because it shows us in our relationships where we are in that.
Right. And that's, I think, where all of this comes down to is where are we with ourselves? It's always everything that we're talking about on all of our podcasts, everything that we try to do on social media. We're trying to educate people and teach people that it isn't about anything that's outside of us, that everything is within us. And if we're not in balance with what's inside us, not a happy person as us, then we're going to be seeking out that external thing.
We get to wonder today, and with each relation, and relation meaning not even somebody who's close to you, somebody who crosses your path in a day, am I being a reflection or am I being a projection? Where am I in this? Because if I'm having a good day and people are coming to me and it's a very good day and they're complimentary or just being lovey, or they're smiling and sharing their presence, that means I'm doing good today. I'm pretty grounded in myself. I'm doing well. But there are those days where somebody will cut you off on the road, or somebody will cut in front of you, in a store, or somebody will be abusive to somebody, and maybe not even to you, but you witness it. Right. You wouldn't be seeing it if somewhere along your journey that projection got a little bit tweaked in your own life.
Right.
We wouldn't be witnessing all these things if
the politics, the wars, the ugliness, the murders, the shootouts, and all the things that are happening. If we were working more with ourselves and trying to better ourselves and be a more happier person, right?
Absolutely. When it comes to social media, so to give you an example, for me, I've had a social media for quite a few years, and I didn't even actually start using the computer until 2006. I got into a social media platform in 2006 to protect my children because it was of the age I knew could transpire. So I got into it for one reason and ended up having experiences that happened with that. And it was an absolute learning curve for me to see how untruthful people really were.
The stalking potential?
Well, absolutely the stalking potential. And the fact was, even being an addict, I still had some morals and stuff that you kind of had to keep your checks and balances. But I saw that people weren't utilizing those skills, and I saw another side. So I was seeing all these things. I'm a fairly aggressive human, and my tongue will just say whatever it needs to say.
Yeah, you're pretty vocal.
I'm pretty vocal.
You can be expressive
I'm
at
very,
times.
Yeah, okay, that's a better word. I am very expressive, and so I will just kind of put stuff out there, and people will either handle it or they won't. And I've got to say that for the most part, my experience with what I put out there wasn't that bad. I never got bashers coming into me with what I was putting out there, but I've always been kind of deep. I'd be frivolous, and then I'd post something that had some depth to it because I wanted people to know that I was also playful. So my authentic self is what I was trying to put out there. Right. This is who I am. Right. And whether you know me or not, I'm pretty truthful.
I'd like to believe that the majority of people that are out there are authentic, but
it's the truth is they're not. So as Bear and I start bringing our worlds together, and he's got a platform of his own, and I've got my own platform, and he decided one of the platforms was having a glitch in the matrix, so that platform was going to go away for him. And so when he built a new platform, he decided he was going to pick and choose who was going to be available to feel him, whatever he put out there, or, you know, it was more of us together, showing pictures of us and where he's going and the things that he loves to do, so he would put that out there. And the engagements were more about, he would see things that were pretty cool, but he would also notice if he wasn't very
balanced.
No, not balanced, but if he wasn't very engaging and didn't play the game along with the social media.
Play the social media game, I wouldn't get a lot of responses.
That he wouldn't get a lot of responses out of it. And then with me, the cool thing was there was a period of time where I got just a bunch of jokesters, which made it so much fun for me to engage in. And then every now and again, you'd get the political people that would come in. They would never do my page dirty.
Right.
But I also would come across it here and there. It's never been something that was overbearing. And I don't engage with political content in any way, so I'll never go political. But I've always seemed to have come across really engaging and really loving people. I've never had the bashers, and I do have friends that share on social media platforms, and they get absolutely trashed and bashed and very aggressive.
Yeah.
I have to look at that and say, what is behind the character putting out the information?
Right.
What is it that you're putting out there that can get that kind of
response?
Yeah.
Yep.
Where are you? Remember, if we're only a reflection or a projection, isn't it interesting how that kind of comes back? Isn't that interesting in itself?
Yeah, if we're struggling, the responses that we're going to get might be mirroring that struggle.
Well, absolutely. And how many times are people going to say, well, how may I be of service? How might I help you through your struggle? I actually come across that if I'm having a little bit of a tweak or something, putting something out there, maybe that I even shouldn't put out there, I will get absolutely loving responses. I'm having one of these kind of days. I'm having these kind of bleak days.
But notice that when we do try to respond to something that's controversial, it becomes either they love it or they hate it.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of that.
No, well, because we haven't been doing a lot of it lately.
I gotta tell you, if I'm against something, I'm not gonna put something out there
Remember
and say
Kentucky Fried Chicken, right?
I'm gonna
Remember
hate
that?
it. What?
Remember Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Yes.
How it went out of business?
Yes.
And how those people painted it. And remember how you responded to that? And then that local dude.
Yes.
Okay, you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to explain. It's the controversy, whether or not we're trying to be in a controversial post.
Are you putting stuff out there that is unconscious, even in playful? Because I did make a comment. It was pretty playful. And one of the local characters in town actually said, well,
That's calling the kettle black or something, right?
We had this Kentucky Fried Chicken here that was locally proprietized, and they went out of business, and they painted it, and I thought it was spectacular.
Well,
they did a great job.
Let's call it graffiti.
No. They did a fantastic. They painted it, and then people came in and they drew all over it. And for me, I was so affected by that vandalized appearance. I struggled with it. I mean, because I was raised in the streets. You know what I mean? So when I saw that, it was like that wound came back to me. Mm-hmm. So when I put it on social media, I was pretty much putting it out there. Wow, it's just too bad that this has happened. I said on the brighter note, though, there's actually a one-way around to where you can come through the driveway. It's because it's like an in and out. You can only go around one way and come out in order to come out of the compound. Well, I actually went around the opposite direction. I could drive through the wrong way through the drive-through, and one of the locals, see cart, and he's like, wow, you're calling the kettle black because you're doing the same type of thing by saying, but look at me, I got to go through the drive-through the wrong way, and they're actually painting graffiti. It's not that he was too far off base.
Right.
And that's the truth of it, is I had to recognize, ooh, look at me. Look at my projection right there.
Right.
I'm showing a negative analogy on what I find that's disturbing, and yet I'm still not vandalizing, but it's not far from it. Do you know what I mean?
If it were a business that we're operating, that would have been a
bad thing. So I came back and I said, well, I do understand what you're saying, and I totally take note on that. But you do understand also that the place is like closed down. And I think he even deleted me. But it affected him.
Right.
It did affect him. So that was the only time really that I've had.
I was just kind of using that as an example as to how something possibly innocent can be taken completely wrong or incorrectly. And
yet so right. So in that, even though I had taken it and taken responsibility for the actions that I had displayed, because I had to be accountable for that one.
Right.
It wasn't like it was terrible. But the fact is, I was in the wrong. I felt that I was. Yeah. And so I took note on that. But the things that we put out on social media, do we think about stuff that we put out there?
And are we actually posting something that's true to us? Are we actually putting something out there for people to see, hear, watch? Is it the true self, or are we just trying to put the mask on us and have everyone see us as the clown face or the princess or
I'm in pain, so let me paint a funny picture, or I'm hurting, so here, look at me.
Right.
Or I'm dying and I don't want you to know it. Or the other scale of that realm is, you know what, I'm really suicidal and I'm going to put that on the internet. Yeah. We have had it take place in our town to where somebody had gone to the point of massive depression and placed it on social media, and it took place.
Yep.
He actually, put the phone down and then made his next decision. We've seen those kind of things take place on social media. It's a raw form of stuff.
It's very difficult to be able to know what's real, what isn't. And again, I said it earlier, is probably the best way to know what's real and what isn't is to go to the source. Is to always find, I guess I could say to God for that part, but the source of where's the information coming. If you see somebody posting something and you're wondering, stop wondering. Don't assume. Don't respond with a thought like, wow, you're an idiot. Or, wow, that was such a lie that you did. It's like, well, when you go to the source and you talk to the person that posted it, if you don't know them, which guess what? 99% of our friends on our social media pages, we don't know them. Correct. We really don't know anybody. We assume because we watch their posts, we watch how they write, what they write about, consistencies. So we make a lot of assumptions.
Not even just social media platform, but engaging in life.
In life in general.
It's just, our reality. Bear and I get to go, isn't that funny that this reality isn't even true? And not only is the reality not true for us, the understanding of the reality anyways, then we've got these social platforms that are even less real to a big degree. Yeah. We're living vicariously through somebody else's life who may not even be, that may not be who they are.
Right. Anyone can take a picture and put it up on a social media. And
if there was no social media platform, as you're going around town and engaging with people, you feel that they are so loving. Some people you can feel that they are so loving. Yeah. Other people are so loving and yet so broken. And we don't spend the time to get to know.
Right. But people. For what we get to do, Laura Lee and I, we actually do Segway tours, and we get to see people all the time, and we get to interact with them. And in a short period of time, for doing something as simple as a Segway ride, we actually get in touch deeply with some of these people.
We get to take the masks off of our guests.
Yeah, and us.
And ourselves, yeah.
Because they see us as an entertainment value. If they ask us a question about, well, what was your past like? And they already started talking about how their past was, then it kind of helps us bring a little healing to us and them. Hey, my life was filled with this. Everything wasn't rosy like you see me today. I had to struggle like you just told me you were struggling. I understand your mom died of cancer. Well, guess what? My mom died of cancer. Wow, what an unbelievable connection you can have. So we get to actually take bits of time and be able to see a little bit of truth behind the people that we're seeing every day. That's rare because we're in a tour business. But as a human walking the streets, doing your job every day, going home, going to sleep, talking to friends, going to work, interacting with coworkers, are we going to take those same steps to kind of open up a conversation like that? That all depends on us and if we're comfortable with us. But are we also in a workforce or in a social gathering to pretend and make everybody believe the ideas that we try to portray on our social existence? I mean, it's pretty tough to be able to be always who you are because we have this fear in us that people aren't going to like us for who we are.
That we're not good enough.
That we're not either good enough or worthy of...
We can't live up to your expectations, and that brings me back into it. So when you look at each relationship that has maybe faltered or failed, or you believe that it was somebody else's fault, taking responsibility for it is very important. Mm-hmm. When I look back at my past, especially when I came to my parents and feeling all of those things, I get to look back now and go, I had agendas. Even as a child, right? They're legitimate beliefs. I believe they should have been, more protecting. They should have looked over, I believe, all those things. But as an adult now looking back, I had agendas. I wanted them to love me because they were my parents.
Right.
I was their child. I believe that they should have had me in everything that they did.
The understanding of being a child means I'm with these two.
Yeah.
I think I'm supposed to be with you
I
two.
wanted to be loved, and I want, we all wanted to be perfect. And as in children, we don't even know what that is. We just want to be loved.
Yeah.
We want you to not let those things happen
Play
to
with
us.
Me. Do this with me. Hey, I have a lollipop in my mouth. Look at the color.
Take care of me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
For some reason, I believe at that age that I was not being loved or paid attention to or whatever. But it's kind of hard to say an agenda when you're 3 years old or 5 years old.
But it is a good word to use.
But it's more like a desire. For a child, it would be more like a desire. Man, I know what love feels like because when I was born, I remember that feeling of you holding me. I remember when you used to tuck me in at night and read me a story. Now it's good luck shutting off your own light. I got things to do and I'm leaving. You got to take care of yourself tonight.
I guess it would be, I can see where that might...
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, thank you, Siri. That's my Siri telling me that she doesn't understand either. How perfect was that?
That is pretty
Anyway.
perfect. But going from...
recorded the
I
conversation.
think our needs just change a little bit.
Maybe the understanding of our needs as well.
Well, we morph, to please acknowledge me and teach me as a child, and we would all want to be protected. But we take all those things that we learn as a child, and then we display them and project them as young adults, teens, young adults, and then...
So check this out. Just came to me right now. As young children, when we start learning about life and we have our parents educating us, teaching us about things... don't touch the heater, don't put your hand in the toilet when there's a little log in there. Simple stuff that we would think would be the right direction. One of the things that every parent teaches us is deception. It's pretend. It's, pretend to be this, pretend to be that. Let's dress up in costumes. Let's be something that we're not. Parents are actually not, and I'll take responsibility for that 100%. I created a puppet set for my son, for my oldest son, when he was 5, 6, 7 years old. And I was trying to give him an outlet other than me. And I was trying to say, hey, pretend over here. Create your environment over there with these puppets instead of sitting down with dad and playing. We tell everybody, how about an invisible friend? Those are great. Psychotherapists, psychologists are all telling, having an invisible friend's perfect. That's healthy. It's like, well, yeah, maybe. Maybe not. Who knows?
I was too literal and logical even as a parent. So for me,
right. But I'm saying there's like a concept that if you don't want to put the time into it, why did you do it? Why did you commit to it, right? If I didn't want to be a good parent, why did I accept the responsibility of getting someone pregnant and being a parent? Was it just for the sake of whatever? Or was it for the sake of, wow, now I'm a parent, let me step up and play the part? And playing the part is educating our kids. It's not just teaching them how to eat without spilling it and making a mess. It's saying, hey, there's a mess. No big deal. Let's clean up the mess together. Let's teach them how to pick up after themselves, not point at something and say, pick that up and throw it over there. Pick that up and throw it over there. There's a big process that we have to take in our responsibility. We've been saying that a lot this podcast. Responsibility of who we are and what our actions are around us. And to create something for children to know that masking yourself is good. Put on a mask. Pretend you're something you're not. Because that's good.
Would you say then the generation for us, we're in our 50s, so the generation of parents during this time, you could say they were very good at pretending, right? So we just didn't have social media, so we still had, here, look at me looking like this movie star or that movie star. Right. We had those kind of, models to go by. What I'm trying to get to is my parents were just a hot mess. Mm-hmm. And how it didn't get handled differently, I really don't know, but by the grace of God. I believe my mother would try to do her best to make it look good and doctor it up to where she would be very presentable and very pretty. So that mask would be, we would take the whole family and the dynamics of that basket case and make it look good on the outside.
Right.
But only until I was about 7. Mm-hmm. And then there was no putting a mask on anything because you couldn't mask that kind of trash.
Right.
There was just no way you could cover that stuff up. So everybody knew we were like a hot mess.
Yeah.
And then, my father was absolutely profoundly able to display hot mess. Mm-hmm. It's not even a coming for full circle. It's a matter of we're not getting any better as a species.
Right. Absolutely not. In fact, I think we're getting
a little worse. Yeah.
Less better. Yeah. When we can take a look at hearing the conversations between our elders. Man, when I was a kid, it wasn't like that. Imagine what it was like to grow up in the Great Depression as a child, right? In the times when it was hard, what do you think the parents were going through? To be able to feed their kids, give them a house, and all those struggles and pains?
Some of them couldn't. They gave up their children. They sold their children. There was a full range. We're not getting any better. And I think that's basically our point. Bear and I are doing this because it's important that somebody out there find hope somewhere. Yeah. We don't know if it's 1 or 10. The hope is everything that we've learned in our walk, we want to be able to share the experiences. It's just like a shock factor without the pictures. Wake up. You can't scroll for 30 seconds forever. What is it in your life that really matters? If you're an addict or you don't know that you're an addict or you're having a struggle in life, you know what? It's a world problem.
Yeah.
It's a human unconscious problem.
It's a problem inside the human themselves.
There's a quote in the Bible, and I don't know my Bible at all, so it actually says, you will wake up, you will open your eyes, and you will become disturbed. So for me, when I got clean or was starting to get clean, there were simple functions that I wasn't able to perform. So I would put a mask on, even trying to get clean, I would put a mask on and I would go outside and I would try to go shopping for my children. Food. And that basic thing that was so necessary for my children to eat, I could not complete because I couldn't put on a big enough mask or a heavy enough mask, and I couldn't hide the fact that I was
incapable of actually doing what you were trying to go out and do.
I was totally incapable of actually taking care of anything, whether it was feeding my children, to look at my children, to pick up my children. I didn't know if I could do these things, and I didn't even know if I wanted to. Being an addict is not easy. I gotta tell you, when you decide to get clean, that's not easy either.
Right.
How many masks are you willing to take off? Are you willing to take off any masks and get really real? It's not about people validating you and to say, hey, you know what, I look pretty, my life is getting so much better. I've got 30 days, I've got 60 days, and I got 90 days, because those are absolutely beautiful points. But the fact is you
steps.
Don't need to show your tits and your abs to prove that you're doing okay. Because what proves that you're doing okay is the work that you're doing. What kind of work can you show that you're doing?
Because folks, we're not
looking for hope and inspiration and courage. Show me that.
In recovery, it's not what does everybody think. You shouldn't care.
Yep.
In recovery, you should not care about what anyone else thinks, because your focus and your heart and your soul should be dedicated to taking one step at a time in the right direction. In the healing process, the stepping away from it. It's okay. Just say 7 weeks clean. You don't have to add pictures to it. You can just say, I love myself. I'm gaining. I'm taking another step. It's not about whether anybody else is going to high five you, thumbs up you, give you a heart for it.
We're so busy trying to fake it till you make it. And for some of us, it's absolutely necessary. For the others of us, we can't afford to fake anything.
Yeah. We put ourselves in such drastic situations that it's time to rip off the masks.
But even when you get clean, the funny thing about when you get clean is this is a lifelong process. We've talked about this. This is lifelong. I still find myself, even while I got 18 years behind me, man. I've been clean for 18 years. And I've come from the bowels of hell to, my life ain't so bad. But the facts are, is I still get to check myself every time and see, oh, you put a mask on, didn't you? Oh, you're trying to cover up something, aren't you?
Right.
I still have to evaluate myself, because I'm not worried about how you're going to evaluate me, but I have to see what mask I decided to put on in the morning, or which other masks did I want to put on throughout my day. Am I being authentic with myself? Sometimes, it ain't true.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I can definitely say that I'm wearing a mask, and I have been since I got to Sedona. I basically was trying to get rid of the person I was and to become the new person. So the fact that I'm known in town as Bear, that's my name, that's all I'm going to go by. It isn't my birth name, but I'm holding a mask because as soon as I got to Sedona and started the deeper healing in getting more in touch with God and the understanding of depth in a human being, the more I knew that the other person, the addict, the old person, the angry person, the physically violent person, that no longer existed in my life. So it wasn't like I was putting on a mask as much as I was letting go. Letting go of everything that used to be to become who I am.
Well, wouldn't you say then, instead of saying put on a new mask, because it is entirely viable for that, but I would also say it's okay for us to rebirth.
Yeah.
We're actually dying of the old and beginning of the new.
Right.
And I think it's perfect time, because this is December, this is, the birth of Christ and all that,
right.
Symbology behind
Starting of a new year.
Yeah, everything's
the fall has ended. We're
rebirthing, beginning again. And I think, maybe for you coming out here and becoming Bear, it was bringing you to a place of comfort, what I can reinvent myself. And that's what being, recovering from being an addict is I get to reinvent me, and I get to pick and choose what I want to become.
That's a critical piece too, the word choose, the fact that you're saying you can pick and choose what you want. And a lot of us will constantly put blame and shame on everything outside of us. knowing full well that everything we have done, everything we have accomplished to this point has been a pure choice of our own making. At no point has anybody pushed us down a path of addiction, unless, I guess sometimes you could be thrown into a situation where somebody beats you up, knocks you out, and then injects a bunch of heroin or something into you. I can't say about that, but I'm just saying, in general, our struggles are inside. They're not the outside. Our struggles are, what are we made of? And why can't we just show it? And let's make choices. The choice to take another day, to be free from our addiction.
Let's remove the masks one mask at a time and understand, why did I put that mask on? What was the reason behind that mask? And what you'll find is there's a commonality in all the masks that you begin to take off of how you feel about you. Because you think it's about how other people haven't felt about you or what others did to you. And the facts is this is all how we feel about us.
Yeah.
We put on these masks to project something that looked better than it was.
Yeah, if we didn't put a sign out on our forehead that said, "I'm desperate," we wouldn't have attracted those people that like abusing desperate people.
Right.
Right?
So maybe...
Or, "I'm desperate here, I'm a drug addict. I'm gonna convince you, because you're desperate, I'm gonna convince you that this is your way out."
And we've got different ways of leaking information through. It's not like we have to wear those. We have different ways of going, I feel needy, so I'm going to go get a partner that is actually abusive or narcissistic. So here, let me show you how you're doing today.
Right.
People will show up in your life and show you exactly what you need work on. We just don't want to look at that. We think that all these people, it's about them just being,
jerk poopy heads.
Those kind of things. And the facts is we called them in. And we don't want to admit the fact that we called those people in. So what Bear and I call each other is, this is a gifting relationship. Mm-hmm. Each one of us loves to be with the other. We love our alone time. We love our time together. If one of us decides that this relationship isn't not the direction that we need to go, or we need to do some more growing, then that relationship will be loving as well. And the closing of it will be loving. And I don't believe that could ever happen as far as closure. Completely. But that's who Bear and I are.
Right.
We've got to work through a lot of stuff as individuals and as a couple.
Yeah. We didn't become a couple because we wanted to be a couple. We became a couple because we found that we were two really intense individuals that were on a similar path to healing and spirituality. And we had an interesting introduction. We're not going to get into that one. That's like 7 podcasts worthy. So we just found that we were two caring people, and it didn't matter what was. It mattered, what are you? What are you now? And what are you kind of looking to be? And that's, I think, the biggest piece that attracted us together was, you had your thing going on, I had my thing going on, and I don't know what that's all about, but I'm digging when we're together. I'm digging how that works. I'm digging our conversations. I'm digging our understanding of truth and honesty. That was a critical piece, is don't show me something you think I want to see. Show me what you got. And if I'm good with it, then I stay. If I'm not, then I'm done. And we were at that point where I think both of us were looking for that kind of thing. And we both provided it. And we opened up the door for each other. And we're now here to try to share with people that, you can be a heroin addict, an alcoholic, you can be a social media addict, you can be a food addict, and you can still get to a point where things get better and better every day. And you can find a little bit more connection with other people. And you can start watching movies and finding the God behind the movie, or the blessing behind the movies. You don't have to watch a Bible movie or read the Bible to be able to see somebody walking down the street that is walking the walk of grace and in touch with the existence of their God or the creation.
They carry a good vibe. Not everybody believes in God, and not everybody has that spiritual aspect, but they're still really cool people.
Yeah.
You've got to carry something with you, and if you're really being a down-to-earth and really good being, then I dig that, and I'm drawn to that. For me, I'm all about God. Bear is,
I'm in the process of being completely taken by God.
Yeah.
So
he's smitten, for sure.
I'm smitten in there. So yeah, it's a matter of just letting go of our our masks and our belief that everyone else has,
and our agendas.
Yeah, and our agendas, and just take everything for what it is, for face value, instead of creating something out of nothing.
We need to quit trying to make people fit into our spectrum. We have to do what we have to do and remove the masks for us. This isn't about somebody else's walk. This is your walk. And what are you willing to do for it?
Yeah. All right, that's pretty cool. That's almost 50 minutes, so that's a lot of talking. Thank you, folks. Going to be doing a little bit of editing on this, just a little bit. But thank you very much for hanging out with us. We'll give you we'll have another episode coming up soon. We're getting on this nice roll for the holidays. This is kind of one of the hardest times as well as the funnest times for people to enjoy. But
and are you showing up for yourself?
Yeah, keep that in mind, folks. It's about you and making sure that you're going to be taking the steps. Don't let anybody else tell you what to do. You know what your path is, and let's stick with it. And we're here for you, and we love you, and we will talk to you later.
Bless you.